This is 2 days into making a Marvel game. You basically open packs to unlock heroes, some being rarer than others, but there's a flaw. You can equip the hero's character, but that's pretty much it. You can't fight, and it's practically just a collector's game. How will a game inspired by superheroes expect to do well when there's not even fighting in the game? And why make a Marvel game with no fighting? To be fair, I only had 2 days. Adding abilities and fighting is near impossible in a 48-hour time span. But what if I had a week? Just 5 more days? And the only way I would continue the Marvel game progress is if my previous video hits 250 likes. And I'm sorry guys, there's just no way. The video has tripled the like goal. What? They want a part 2 now. I didn't know this opening up Roblox Studio, but what I'm about to go through for the next 5 days is about to be the most humbling experience ever. Anyways, adding fighting in a Roblox game is by all means no easy task, but as any normal Roblox developer would do, I need an attack box and a hitbox. Put this in simple terms, sword has an attack box and character has a hitbox, and when attack box collide with hitbox, so let's make that. First I added a rig, then added a part to wield to the character's hand. What's a wield? Think of it like glue. When you wield two parts, they pretty much just stick to each other and they don't separate. Useful for things like hats, tools, and in this case, attack boxes. We are wielding a part to both hands and feet. From that piece of information, you guys can assume that this is going to be an attack box because you can kick and punch with hands and feet, also known as attacking. Now when we play, we can see that it sticks to our character like glue. I then did the same thing with hitboxes. I added a body hitbox and a head hitbox because I'm playing on making it do double damage if you get hit in the head, but something went wrong when I pressed play. Took me a second to figure out, but apparently there's this value in each of the parts that is automatically placed in there by Roblox themselves. Original size. I just had to delete that, and now we have a working hitbox. Almost. Every time I walk forward, I slowly get out of the hitbox, so I expanded it. Now we have a working attack box and hitbox. But they don't work because we haven't made a script for an attack box to, well, attack. So I plan to make 3 types of attacks per hero: a basic attack, a secondary attack, and an ultimate, each getting more and more powerful. So I opened up a local script and made a table called main table. In main table there's another table called keybinds. Basic attack's keybind is left click. That's all I added in the keybinds table. I can always add the secondary and ultimate attack later when I get to them, but for now we were just trying to test if the hitboxes work. Anyways, in the main table there's also another table called unclassed, meaning no hero equipped. In unclassed there's another table called basic attack. In unclassed basic attack there are all the properties needed to make the ability function: the animation ID, the damage, the cooldown, and all that other fun stuff. It's pretty much just the ability table. I then made a function called find request ability with key, and in the parentheses you would, for example, put left click. It would go through the keybinds and check what ability is left click. In this case, basic attack is left click, so variable type of attack would be basic, and then it would go through your equipped hero, in this case unclassed because I don't have a hero equipped, then search type of attack, which is basic, and then it would return the entire ability table including the name, damage, and the cooldown. Now that we have our client side done, it's time to connect this thing to a remote event and fire it to the server so that we can actually play the ability. But first we have to check if the attack box and the hitbox is colliding. So I made a folder in replicated storage called collisions. So whenever an attack box collided with a hitbox, it will group them in the collisions folder, indicating that they are currently touching. So now I can check if there are 2 parts touching in both the client and the server side. Now it's time to apply that ability folder from earlier with all the properties, and then we would have a working ability script. But there was a problem. I couldn't get the animation to work. It kept on saying it didn't load. Little did I know this was actually an easy fix. All I needed to do was reset Roblox Studio, but I didn't figure that out until day. I made the punch animation and it's working perfectly. As you can see, animating is not my strong suit. When baby Buzfas was born, I put all my skill points in scripting, and maybe 1 point in video editing, and maybe a half a point in UI design, and maybe a quarter of a point. I needed inspiration, so I joined the strongest battlegrounds. I got tossed around a lot, but now I had an idea of what to make a punch look like. I figured that it had to be fast, so that's what I did. I finished the animation. Now there's one last thing to do. We need to add a knockback effect. There are 3 variables we need for a knockback effect. One is the orientation where the player is looking. It would be very weird if I punched you and you just flew to the left. That's not how physics work. We can get the look vector by using your humanoid root part C-framed.look vector. 2 is the default velocity force. I picked 50 because it's a light knockback and we can always add on to this later. The default velocity force is like salt when it comes to with cooking. You can always add, but you can never take away. So we have to start with a low number. 3 is the multiplier, which is determined by the ability table. For example, the Incredible Hulk, I'm planning to make his knockback level 20 because he's really strong. But this punch is a level 3 knockback. If we multiply all this together, we get the velocity. When we add that to the player, we now have a working functional ability script that starts in the client by clicking the desired keybind. Then it figures out what type of ability you want, connects to the server, starting up the ability, also knows playing the animation. Then it checks if the attack box is touching the hitbox, and when it detects that it is, it uses all the data from the ability table and applies a knockback, the damage, and the stun. That's only 12 hours of my life I won't get back. It's all good though, because you hit the like button. We have working hitboxes and attack boxes, but right now they are only wielded to the default rig, and in order for this to work, we need to wield it to every single character by hand. By hand because some characters have different size hitboxes than others, like the Hulk. So after struggling to do that for the Hulk 4 whole hours straight, it's time to add the abilities. I decided to do Birdman first, because I'm planning on making him the worst character in the game. Every time I think of Falcon attacking, I think of that one scene from Ant-Man where he has like twin dual guns and he rapid fires them. So that's going to be his basic attack. I started by making the animation. Since it's going to be like rapid firing, I figured that his arms should just go really fast back and forth. After a couple tries, I finally got the animation to look good, and I made it to where the gun spawned in his hand every time he used the ability. Now I need the bullets. Similar to the knockback effect, we can use the look vector and velocity to produce these bullets. After I added bullets, I made a new variable called attack speed, because that's how fast the bullets are going to be going. Finally, we have working bullets. The bullets don't do a lot of damage because Falcon is an ordinary hero, but they can do double damage if you hit him in the head, and then double more damage if you manage to hit both shots, because you know there's twin dual guns. So if you've ever played Brawl Stars, there's a character called Ruffs, and he has 2 shots just like Falcon, so that's a good reference. So if you master Falcon, you can pretty much do quadruple damage and shred enemies. That was Falcon's basic attack. His secondary attack is going to be flying because, well, he's a Falcon. I took a free fly script from the toolbox and edited it to my liking just to not waste time. But it was a local script, which made things tricky because everything I'd made was in the server script. This caused a lot of bugs. For example, the animation would continue playing even after it wasn't supposed to. Eventually, after 4 boring hours of debugging, I finally got it to work. Moral of the story, don't take stuff from the toolbox because every scripter scripts differently. After that, I made his ultimate. I want his ultimate to be strong because both of his abilities don't do damage. Like, one does damage if you like master him, but like the other one is just flying, right? So I want this one to do a lot of damage. So what if he spins and knocks back his enemy to stun them? And even better, what if I made it to where if he popped the ability while he was flying, it would do more damage and knock back more? So that's what I did. Pretty much how this works is when you pop the ability, the animation plays and it creates a new attack box but wields it to the head. So everything touched by the head gets long. So I now finished Falcon's 3 abilities, but this took 10 hours. Yes, 10 hours for one character's full ability system. Only 18 more to go. I started with Hawkeye's ability system, the second worst character in the game. But then disaster struck. They removed the accessories needed for Hawkeye. So that means I have to create a brand new character. He now has brunette hair and he doesn't have a mask, which kind of sucks because I was really going for the comic book Hawkeye here. I really tried to speed things up because I did not want to spend another 10 hours on one hero's ability because I don't know if you noticed, but we have 2 days left. So I spent 5 hours instead. Hawkeye's basic attack is just a regular arrow. His second attack is an arrow that stuns, and his third is an explosive arrow that deals a lot of damage. I had the idea for the explosive arrow from this one scene in the Avengers where my favorite character, Loki, aura farms by catching the arrow mid-air, but then it explodes and knocks him off the ship. You may be saying, where's the explosion? Well, I'm planning on adding all of the sound effects and the VFX in part 3 because if we hit 1,500 likes on this video, I will make a part 3, just like this is part 2. It's going to be the final part, and it's going to be 23 more days of development. So I can name the video, I spent 30 days making a Marvel game in Roblox. And it's probably going to be quite a long video, so you might want to like the video and stay tuned for that. Anyways, I spent another 6 hours making Iron Man and Captain America's abilities. First, I added a damage indicator so I can check how much damage I'm doing. Iron Man's basic attack is a simple blast that knocks back his enemies. His secondary is to fly, and his ultimate is a mega blast that stuns for 3 seconds. Captain America's basic attack is a shield attack that he uses to punch. His secondary attack is a deadly uppercut that he he can use to stun enemies. His ultimate is a shield throw that stuns enemies and is a projectile. I got his ultimate from the iconic, and I mean iconic, Avengers intro where he throws his shield at the camera. Like, come on, we've all seen that before, bro. I was really trying to add as much characters as possible, but I fell asleep on my keyboard and I did not wake up until like 5 p.m. and it was day. I spent quite a lot of time on day 6, so day 7 will just be some things I really need to add. For example, a safe zone. This is how the safe zone will work. When you are in the safe zone, you are immune to attacks. You can't use abilities, you can't change your hero, and you can roll new heroes. But for some reason, the touch event was really buggy, so I made a while loop, which is pretty much just a loop that runs forever to check if you are in the box using your position. Then I added a viewport frame for the images instead of just regular images. I felt like this was way more efficient, and I only spent like an hour on day 7 because, like I said, I woke up at 5 p.m. So yeah, that's everything I added over the past 5 days. Was it hard? Yes, 100%. Would I do it again for 23 more days? Yes, 100%. Comment down what abilities I should add for certain characters, or maybe a new character that you really want to see in the game. Maybe you will see yourself in the next video.